everyone, welcome to my final year forum. I'll start by briefly introducing some of the work I made pre-university. This is when I began forging a collage practice. I was using appropriated, found and some collected materials to create collages. Some of these took the form of zines and handmade books. I was exploring themes of feminism, the occult and the body, but I suppose my work was quite aesthetically driven at this stage. It was also around then that I began using cut-out found text to create poems, which has evolved to be quite an important part of my practice today. Here's an image of a zine I made. In first year, I continued to work with collage, exploring the body, gesturing and sensation in quite a playful way. I experimented with making a film collage. I was layering found footage of mudras mixed with text from a book about carnivorous plants and also web-generated anagrams of poetry. I think this concept of combining seemingly disparate elements to form a feeling as a whole was quite a key moment, but despite this, I didn't really enjoy the outcome. I finished first year collaborating with Kira on a film piece and zine entitled The Gluttonous Moon. This collaboration felt really exciting because it allowed me to work playfully, incorporating humour and performance into my work. Moving into second year, I kind of struggled to get back this playful energy, but started working with collage again. I was collaging working from a book about dreams and what different symbols in dreams meant, from radishes to forks to trains. The narratives behind seemingly benign objects really fascinated me, and I began to craft a visual language out of the symbols I was drawn to. These symbols, such as shells or hands and teeth and even nectarine pits, became ways for me to illustrate the idea of a magical soup, which was a way for me to understand reality in all of its magical soupiness. Through these works, there was also the presence of the body. Hands were grasping or cupping or offering. I began working with larger scale sculpture, using materials such as salt dough, paper mache, and cardboard. These materials are important to my practice because I'm quite an impatient maker, and I like things to be quite quickly formed, as I get bored easily. I also began working with automatic writing as a starting point for these drawings and sculptures. This process of an idea or a symbol being born through writing, then transforming from text to collage to drawing into sculpture, is something that has continued to be important in my practice. I think it was also around then that I visited Tai Shani's performance and installation at Glasgow International Festival. The way she used spoken word to create a sort of utopian post-gender world through juicy language and artifacts from other realms felt really exciting and inspiring. In third year, I began using found text from a National Geographic magazine, using these cut out parts of text as prompts for my own writing, which I fleshed out into fully formed poems and then evolved into drawings and sculptures. I was exploring a sense of fluid embodiment, and this playfulness came through as I embarked to make a giant jug with an ear. Here are some pictures of me making it. This ear jug, and also this symbol of an archway with hands and feet, became important symbols, as they felt loosely related to mythology, crafted from an amalgam of existing myths weaved with imagined ones of my own. These amalgamous artifacts from imagined worlds have quite a crap aesthetic, to use Wolfgang's words. But I think the rudimentary quality they have reflects the way they were haphazardly formed quite quickly. I was also inspired by... here's some more collages that I was working on at this time, incorporating monoprint as well. I also was inspired by a visit to the Discovery Museum stores. The archives of natural history made me think about the role of the collector as a typically patriarchal and colonial role. It made me imagine a sort of utopia, a way of collecting artifacts and elements of natural history in a benevolent way, which I explored through creating my own. It was also at this time that I was writing my dissertation on themes of alchemy, animals, and the androgyne in the work of Leonora Carrington, and my research into these topics certainly bled into my practice. You can see this through the altar-like magical installations. I was particularly inspired by the set and costume designed for the play Penelope that she staged with Alejandro Jodorowsky. And you can see this here on the right hand side. These are some more ink drawings that incorporate these ideas of animals and magic and alchemy. I started semester 2 planning to be ambitious with my sculptures, and I wanted to craft an exciting installation of objects made from various materials such as metal and wax, but my plans sort of changed once I had to start working from home. I was forming ideas by sketching out forms and symbols through monoprint. I began working in my childhood bedroom, and during this time I was reading and writing a lot, pulling inspiration from poetry, particularly from Robert Bly's collection News of the Universe, poems of a twofold consciousness, and also the work of Joyce Mansour and Mina Loy. This line from Friedrich Hölderlin's poem All of the Fruit really resonated with me, which you can see monoprinted on the left. It reads, "One law is this, that everything curls inwards." I kept playing with monoprinting and writing during this time, and these are some images of what I was working on. Certain symbols like the web and the carton of the stone milk kept occurring, so I decided to make these into 3D forms. During this time I was able to play with situating my work outdoors, and I made a little film incorporating my sculptures and into the landscape. The film was called Dryad Saddle Listens. After I assembled these objects in a natural environment, alongside the mushroom, the Dryad Saddle. I like the way that this subtly references mythology, and I also really enjoy the way that these stills look like the natural world is engulfing these forms. It reminds me of a line from a text by Victoria Sin, which I feel like is what I'm trying to get at with a lot of my practice. It reads, "To become the thing in order to know the thing that you came from, and then you will go back to the thing, and so I was devoured in order to be born again." These are some more stills from this film, and here is a list of artists that inspire me. In fourth year I began writing and drawing since I was working from home again. This is a page from one of my sketchbooks. I was thinking a lot about this idea of warmth, about how art can make you feel warm, and I was also thinking about how I wanted to merge ideas of the macrocosmic or the universal with specific microcosmic and the deeply personal. I think this combination allows me to ground my work in reality. These are some initial drawings. The symbol of the half-formed cow was born from a collage, which I then transferred into monoprints. It's reminiscent of a two-headed calf that is at the Bose Museum, which I was quite fascinated with as a child. These initial prints and drawings were also quite inspired by music I was listening to at the time, and I've included a list of songs if you would like to check them out. Here's that list. I was also thinking about the idea of milking things, about squeezing as much as I could out of symbols and ideas by taking them from the form of, say, the written word and then turning them into prints and sculptures. These are some monoprints and collages I was working on, which incorporated snippets of some of my writing. I've been experimenting with different ways I can incorporate text into my drawings. I feel like my drawings are quite vague and unplaceable in many ways, but my writing has a specificity to it. And I enjoy when these two elements come together. These are some plaster forms and monoprints and collages that I was working on. And these are some images from my installation for interim. Once we were allowed back into the studio, I immediately started working sculpturally. I think I have the most fun when I'm making 3D works, and I enjoyed experimenting with different ways that I could treat plaster as a medium. I began applying it liberally and spreading it as if it was buttercream, which led me to think about this archway as a sort of pudding portal. This installation ties together themes of myth layered with subtle nods to the domestic space and food. Interim allowed me to experiment with scale, and I was interested to see my drawings blown up large. I chose to hang them on cloth, and I sort of see them as a deconstructed tapestry, reminiscent of medieval tapestries that would depict fables or myths, but perhaps not quite as placeable in a particular time or space. Here's another image from Interim. Working from home again, I've been drawing and monoprinting, merging symbols like lotus roots or strange cat creatures and vessels combined with elements of my domestic surroundings. I suppose in lockdown particularly, these imagined spaces with elements of magical benevolent beings has provided some sort of solace or escapism. I've also been using collected materials such as a fringed tablecloth runner I found at my grandma's house and dried lotus roots to play around with different assemblages and compositions. I've been fascinated by the form of a cross-section of a persimmon as I held one up to the window and thought it looked really nice. My next step is to make a stained glass persimmon window, and I'm figuring out what to make it out of from home. I'm thinking I'll start by experimenting with melted boiled sweets or sugar. I'm going to continue making assemblages and installations, taking influence from my writings and drawing, perhaps making more overt and direct links between them. I've also been cooking tasty food with Chantal at Quarantine Cooking Queens on Instagram, and I'm figuring out how to combine my love of cooking with my art practice because I feel like they're connected, but I'm not quite sure how yet. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Bye!